Welcome to Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Tools Garage. I'm your host, Dave the Car Guy. Join us today as we dive into the world of car care and industry trends. Whether you're an enthusiast or just have a daily driver, we got you covered. Let's kick off today's episode. What's up, everybody? Dave the Car Guy. That's right, you know what time it is. Shop Talk Live. We're out here at our San Carlos location today, the OG of where this all started. Today with me, I got Abe Rudo of Abe Rudo Business Coaching and Consulting. Welcome to the show, Abe.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Awesome. All right. So this is your first time on the show. You start off. How about you tell us a little bit about what does Abe Rudo do? Or like on your website it says, who is Abe Rudo?
Yeah. So what I do, I'm a business coach. And what that means, since I think a lot of people don't have like a really firm concept beyond what they see in sports, is it's a lot of working with small business owners, helping them sort of get back on track to achieving the dream that they probably started with when they started the business to begin with. Mm-hmm. So you're a great example. I'm guessing you started out as a mechanic?
Started out as a mechanic.
And you made the transition to owning and running a shop.
I'm trying.
Well, it seems like you're doing pretty well, but like a lot of people, I think, start out as what some like books or whatever refer to as a technician, somebody who's like really good, like a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? They may be really great at being a physician, but nobody taught them how to run a business or how to sort of transition a little bit out of that singular role into a little bit more broad role.
Totally different.
Yeah. And so that's where I come in, is I help small business owners sort of get a grip on everything that's going on, figure out what's most impactful, and then help them plot a course to where they want to go.
Excellent. And how long have you been doing that?
About 3 months. I'm pretty new.
3 months. Oh, you're new.
Yeah.
All right. I'm pretty sure that's like, when you hear about business consultant, I've been in a lot of networking groups, and you got your life coaches, your business consultants, and it's funny as a business owner. You're like, yeah, cool, man. How long have you been doing this? Oh, yeah, 3 months. Just started. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
What did you teach me?
It's new. Well, the coaching part is new, but I've got like 20 years of experience spread across like the last 6 years I've been at Apple.
Yep. Working
in business management and strategy, product development, working on the iPhone. And prior to that, I worked on satellites, PlayStation, back at the PS4 launched, worked in the defense industry as an engineer. So I worked on like the Bradley tank and all kinds of things. So it's like a long career, long-ish, right? Building a lot of experience and sort of understanding of different business models and
different industries.
Yeah, different industries, different size companies, from really small startups to, Apple's about as big as they get. So, so it kind of bringing all of that to bear for local shops and pretty much anybody, really.
And you worked for these companies, right? You weren't independent at that point?
No, I worked for them, yes.
And what prompted you to jump out into the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, it's funny when you look back, or at least for me, when I look back at my career path and my journey, that it's invariably when I make big moves, there's somebody in my life who has been like, I was trying to tell you to go and become an engineer when you were in high school and college, but you weren't listening. So I kind of had to come to it on my own. And this was a similar thing. My wife for years has been like, I think maybe you'd be happier if you worked for yourself. And not that I didn't hear it, but it's just one of those things you have to decide for yourself. But I had been unhappy in the corporate world for quite a while. And like about a year ago, things kind of just, I was like, I'm in my 40s now. Like, life's too short to be miserable for the next, however long I've got. Yeah. Like, I need to make a change. And so I started to really plot a different course in February. Everything came together, and here I am.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations, because, you've probably already realized it's better, not easier.
Yeah.
Not easier, but better. It's nice having the flexibility to create your own path. And if you almost have the precursor, the groundwork to get there, almost might be easier for you. But business owners. I was just having a conversation with my granddaughter, she's 6, and we were talking about work, and I'm like, I said, we have to have a job. We have to work that way. And she's like, so we can eat. And I'm like, exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. We got to be able to buy food, and we have to be able to pay for the mortgage. You have to pay the bank to afford the house that you bought. So we need to work to make sure that we are covered. You can make your job fun, or you could really hate it. So the goal is to find something that you love to do. And I said, or start a business. And I said, no, Dave was a mechanic. And he said, I'm going to work on some cars, and I'm going to have people come in, bring me their car. I'm going to buy stuff to fix their car. I'm going to charge them to fix it. They're going to pay. They're going to be happy. I'm going to be happy, and I made some money, just like going to work.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, so I can make vases and sell them? And I'm like, yes,
you can. You can.
Yes, you can. So it's fun. It's fun, the whole entrepreneurial mind. It's like we have it when we're kids.
Yeah.
And we lose it as we get older. Some of us, some of us continue to have it. But yeah, it's fun being a business owner. I just had a conversation with our youngster out here, Kelby. I kind of miss working on cars a little bit.
Yeah.
The physical accomplishment of it, because that was something you can come in and just, here's a problem, or even just hey, I'm going to service this car. I'm going to make it run. It already runs good, but I'm going to see if I can make it run a little bit better.
Yeah, you take pride in it.
And I miss that part. But running the business, I really, as a kind of a driven guy, I really went for, I'm going to figure out how business works, because I want to make sure I don't do this just for me. I don't want to do this for a job. I don't. I want to do this for having a great place for other people to work, if that makes sense.
Oh,
that was my plan in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and it feels one of the ways I look at it is that it's a constant learning experience
Every day.
Yeah. And I've loved that aspect of it, and it's something that I've had like in my life outside of this before then, but that really embracing that, I think it's essential to, like this morning. I was sitting on, like when you work for yourself, there's no tech support. There's no IT group that you call. And like for me anyway, like I am IT.
Yes.
So my work email was down. There was nobody to go to fix it. So I'm just sitting there with like 2 different chats open. My website's going down. The email's going down. And you learn, right? And you're forced to learn that particular thing and how to fix it and how to just manage everything from marketing to business development to, and I'm sure you're going through that as well. And I just really appreciate that element of just learning constantly.
Constantly. It's that level of work that you didn't really account for, kind of.
Yeah.
When you're like, I'm going to be a business consultant.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
I have to fix my computer, my website. Oh crap, I need this. Yeah. It's crazy, but that's kind of how we're built anyway. So it's almost like we take a little pride and solace in that masochistic. I have to go fix everything, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, but it's a good feeling when you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
This thing that like was not a part of your job previously, but now it's in your wheelhouse.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a good feeling.
So what do you haven't been in the industry, as an entrepreneur a long time, but what are you finding that when you have conversations with potential clients, and clients themselves, what are you finding that they start off needing the most help in?
One of the big things I think is time management. That there's like this idea that most people start with a dream, that dream really quickly gets lost while you're just churning and trying to get everything done on a day-to-day basis. And that it's hard to, especially when a lot of it falls on you, it's hard to maintain a clear priority of what the most important thing to do is, because everything's important, right? Like you got to do everything, and that's the hours get away from you. And the sad truth is, if everything is important, nothing's important, right? Like And so juggling and being able to distill out, like, A, what's most impactful to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. If it's increasing revenue, that's one thing. Increasing profit, maybe 2 or 3 completely separate things. Figuring out, like, what your biggest priority is at that moment, and then making sure that your time is reflective of that,
Yeah.
essentially. So that's one big thing. And I think what comes along with that is a feeling of just being overwhelmed by all of the things that are going on, that need to be done, that, that is theirs and theirs alone. I've also heard a lot more recently that you'll talk to a successful business owner, perhaps like yourself, and in spite of the success that they've gotten, in spite of all indicators showing that their business is doing well, they've got this just cloud over their head of anxiety that at any moment, for no rational reason, everything's just going to come crashing down, right? They can't put their finger on why. They don't think, rationally that they don't know what's going to happen, but like, it's just this constant fear. And like person after person after person, like I saw this thread on Reddit, and it was just person after person jumping on me like, oh, I totally experienced, yes, I feel that too. Oh, I run this kind of business, totally different. Every morning I wake up in a cold sweat, Is that something that you struggle with?
I'm going to say no, but I think every entrepreneur kind of feels like that. I don't struggle with it or to think about it, maybe because, I think I'm a grinder, right? I scrap. I expect things to not work. It's like that's part of my DNA. I expect it just not to work. And I'm just going to make it work until I can't.
Yeah, well, you're prepared then.
Right? So it's like, I don't know. There's fear of like, oh my God, it's all going to come crashing down. I don't have that because it's like, if something starts crashing, I'm going to grab that shit and I'm going to put it back up real quick and I'll put some extra whatever's in it.
Yeah.
So no, but there's always that, something's happening.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, time management is huge. When I was a mechanic technician, totally different. My time management, like, I'm okay, I got a clutch job. This person needs their car back by tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No time management necessary other than that. As I went to the service counter, and I'm just working with people, I'm like, okay, perfect, man. Time management, no problem. I have this many cars. I got to get through every single one of them. The next level up, like, I'm not sure what I need to do right now because it's kind of like nothing physically.
Yeah.
But your brain's is still not. It's not off. It's go 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 go.
Yeah.
And you mentioned all these important things, and I really try and keep in my mind a clear separation between urgent and important. Because if it's urgent, it's not important. Important means I got to make sure I do this right. Urgent is like, holy shit, I got to fix this right now. Even if it's just throw something in there.
Yeah.
So I try and keep those two separate. And time management is huge. It is one of the biggest problems that I see when I am talking to other business owners. They're like, I just don't know what to do. Even some of my some store managers, as they're moving up the ranks, they're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's normal. I need you to now, instead of use these all the time, you got to use these and these. I use a book from one of my favorite guys, Andy Frisella. I use this book called The Power List, and it's got 5 important tasks that you need to accomplish every day. And he's a big proponent of win or lose. If you lose, you do not get the trophy. Sorry, just not how it works. So the 5 tasks that you put in there, your goal by the end of the day, all of them off. If you did, you circle the W at the top of the page. I win. If you do not, you have to look at yourself and go, loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost. That's the only way you really execute at that high level. Like, you know what you got to do. get them done. There's 5 things.
Definitely.
Get them done. So I use that book to really keep my life on track, sort of.
Yeah. Well, it definitely spreads outside of the work sphere.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. Your personal life does not exist in a vacuum, separate from work and
No.
vice versa. Right. So whatever happens here affects that in some way.
Yeah.
Right. If it's not your time, then it's your relationships. It's definitely impactful.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We call it everybody calls it the work-life balance. It kind of is that. It's definitely work-life, because work is what you need to live.
Yeah.
I call it the work-life blend, because that's my world.
Well, I think it's more apt.
Yeah.
It's a better description because there's no. Like I found, and part of what drove me to make a big change was I was just, I have a 4-year-old, and he's a great kid, but he's 4, right? He's doing all the things and
Yeah.
being in the way that a
Yes.
4-year-old is, right?
Yes.
And you can't expect all that much more
No.
than that. And like on a daily basis, I was just taking what I had experienced at work, and I couldn't let go of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I
Yeah.
just don't know how to let go of it. And so I would show up with that, and it would make my interactions with him harder. It would make our dinner more difficult. There was no separation. Even if I could put the work down, and I
Yeah.
did, I couldn't put me down. I
Yep.
couldn't pull that part out
Yes.
and put that down. And so that's honestly been the biggest, most positive change that came out of this transition. Is just I'm so much happier. I'm like, my relationships with them at very least are so much better. Like there's so much that has sort of turned the corner when I made that move. So it's, yeah.
That's good. I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, just like a job that can go away, you just have to make sure that you be aware that is a huge difference, because it can, as you start gaining more clients, it becomes a job. And our team of people, because now I don't run it by myself. I have a team. My son Gavin out here. I got Mark Berger, my wife. We are our leadership core, and we were just grinding and getting burned out. And it was like, man, it's kind of like a job again,
Yeah.
And we did some things. We did this thing called 6 Types of Working Genius. So we figured
Uh-huh.
out what our happy zone is, because we're good at all these different types of things, like inventing and just closing, but some of those do not derive joy
Yeah. For everybody.
for
Anyway.
everybody. And you have your little happy zones, and you have your stuff that is a joy suck. So we figured out as our team what things were, and we were all doing pieces of what killed our joy, but they were somebody's happy zone.
Yeah.
We're like, well, then you do this, I'll do these, you do that, and now we're on a whole nother level. We're on a whole nother level, and it's a trip.
The 6 Types of Working Genius, that's Patrick Lencioni, right?
Yes. Yeah.
My wife's company uses that as well, I think.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Such a basic concept, but I feel like it had the most impact at our leadership level, just because you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And when we uncovered it, we're like, wow, okay, well, let's do this and see what happens. And man, in my mind, I'm like, man, he's getting to do all the fun stuff, like create this, flyer or do whatever. And he's like, Gavin's like, I hate this. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's killing me. And I'm like, really?
Give it here.
Give it back, man.
Yeah.
And, that's what I do. So it's just weird, you, even if you're good at it, like dude was good at it, he would start off, and then all of a sudden, rapidly just done.
Yeah.
And you could see it in our, your face.
Yeah.
Your eyes are burning. You're It's just weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've shifted that up and really changed our focus so we don't have that same burnout feeling of like a job. So we keep it that same feeling that you have now. Like, hey, we can enjoy our home life. Work was, wow, it's already over a while ago. Let's move on and let's have a bonfire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to turn it down.
Yeah.
Not off, just down.
You hit on something that's interesting. The assessment or this working genius. That's like baked into that is this concept of finding your strengths, right? And there are a bunch of different assessments out there that you can take, but it's a large part of coaching, honestly, like executive coaching, is figuring out where you're strong, where you're comfortable, right? Like we were talking right before this started about how we're both introverts.
Yes.
Right. So and
here we are.
Yeah, I know.
On a show with billions of viewers.
Yes. Well, but they're not there now, right? So we're comfortable. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Right.
Right. They're not right at the other end of the table. But so like when you think about like what our strengths might be, or if like in my position I need to go out and do business development, what does that look like, right? And looking at my assessments, my strengths are not necessarily in really large conferences, big networking events, things like that, but they're a little bit more geared towards one-on-ones.
Yes.
And so knowing that, it allows me to lean into where my strengths are and like utilize those to accomplish whatever it is I need to do. And that concept, I think, is broadly applicable for whatever business you've got, whatever business, this individual has or that individual. They're like, figure out where you're good.
Yes.
And then use that, right? Figure out ways to take that and apply it to whatever challenge you're facing. Because you might be surprised that you can use your strength in that way.
Yeah. It's a completely different concept, because if you think about how most things work, sports coaching, all that stuff, they find out what you're not good at in there. We're going to build this up. That's fine, but you're really good at that. What we should be doing is really honing that in, because that doesn't quite matter if you are just lights out doing this. Totally different concept, and kind of nothing wrong with it. And I think you have better results that way. The other way is like you're building up this person to get good at what they're not good at. So, now we can move them to another position to do something that they hate, but they just got good at it. Just set them up for success. Don't promote them to levels that they're not comfortable with. That's how you lose people anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's find your sweet spot and I guess specialize in it.
Yeah. Well, and in a business setting, I think you have different options than like on a sports team, right? Like if you're I'm sure there's benefit to working on the things you're weak on, right? But in a business setting, like of course that's true, and especially if you're growing, hire to fill your weaknesses, right?
Yes.
If you're not really good at and don't want to do something, this is a good indicator of like where someone else can come in and really do a thing.
Yes. Yes. That's the hard part for entrepreneurs a little bit. So I've known some entrepreneurs that hired early because they started this and they didn't want to do this. But there's a time framing for these things, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be able to fund that, right? As soon as you bring somebody on board, you're committed to making sure because you're not just taking care of them. You're taking care of them, their family, everything.
Commitment.
It's a whole different commitment. And, we are a little slow to hire at times because we're like, we can do this, and we really are trying to make sure we don't get the wrong person in. But yeah, there's a financial aspect that a lot of times entrepreneurs are like too afraid to pull the trigger because of the cost, and then some are too eager to pull the trigger because they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
There's a weird balance that needs to be found.
So in the position that you're in, you've navigated a lot of these challenges. Like, how did you go from being a mechanic to owning your own shop? Like, that's a big transition. There's probably a lot you had to learn. Like, how did you go through all that?
That's a great question. So the long and short of it, I didn't go straight from mechanic to shop owner. I went from mechanic to service advisor, which is what seems to be the natural progression for mechanics. You're like, okay, cool. Well, you're tired of, getting beat up in the shop. Let's move you to the counter and work with the public. Not at all the same.
Yeah.
Not at all the same, people. Not all, and probably very little mechanics will succeed doing that, because people are not cars. Cars we can fix.
People have emotions.
Yes. So, but I wanted to do something different, right? I like the car stuff, but I can't sit still. I want to keep going, right? So I want to do this. I want to sit in the office and, I want to see if I can help people that way. And as an introvert, it was one of those weird things for me. I'm like, you know what? I'm talking about what I know. Seems okay, right? So I'm just telling people how it is. I'm explaining car stuff to them in normal language. And they're like, oh, yes, let's do it. I'm like, awesome. Let's get it rolling. Done. I enjoyed that part of it. So I went from mechanic to doing that. I worked at a dealership, so I was actually 3 different positions in that dealership. I worked as a shop foreman mechanic 2 days of the week. I wrote service 1 day of the week, and then I dispatched all the work to the shop 1 day of the week. So I got a kind of taste of all of it.
Yeah.
Right? And the dispatching of the work was a trip because, mechanics are also emotional and have strengths and weaknesses. And, at the place I worked at, we took in probably 100 and something cars a day. And we had 20 mechanics. So I have to figure out how to
divvy that up.
Get 100 cars out the door with 20 people. So it was like, okay, let's move this, let's say that. And in reality, we want to make sure that back in our time, the old days, we worked on a system called flat rate. So we basically got paid for what we did. Piecework almost. So you could be at your toolbox all day, get jobs that were very low paid, but kind of took a little bit of time, and you work all day and not get a full 8 hours worth of pay.
Yeah.
And whereas in the other end of the spectrum, you could get a couple of big jobs, and if you were efficient with what your time and your skills, you could end up with 15, 16 hours made for that day and be done in 7. So it was great for efficient technicians, but also required a good dispatcher
to balance,
because they were in control of your paycheck.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah.
So I was able to, I actually wrote a little, I had this weird laptop back in the day. They weren't awesome. Think something. Didn't have a lot of capability, but I made this little program that I could keep track of how many hours I dispatched each technician. So I'm like, okay, cool. It helped me get work out every day. Every time I dispatched, we got everything out. And I'm like, I like this part of it. I like this game. It's like that little stupid box with, you got to put the puzzle together with the one missing square. I liked that part of it. So I went from mechanic to kind of that to dispatching. And I went to an independent shop as a service advisor, manager, they called me. And I got the chance to kind of like make all the moves in the shop. So I really got a chance to figure stuff out before I opened up. But just like you, I was just getting sick of where I was at. I mean, the my brain works the way it does. It's good for some things, bad for other things. And, I have a lot of ideas. A lot of them are not good. Some of them are really good. And I would just come up with these things. I draw out these plans and I'm like, look, we should be doing this because I see this is coming. And they're like, that's too much money. I don't see any value in it. And then, 2-3 years later, look what we're doing. I'm just like, all right, well, okay, fair enough. I'm like, I gotta do something.
Yeah.
I almost got out of the industry. I bought my first rental home in 2004. Yeah, maybe it was 2004, I think. It was a pile. It was ugly. It was so ugly.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it was affordable, and I'm like, I had this plan. I'm like, everybody I know who's like this rich and powerful person, they have these rentals. So I said, I'm doing it. So I bought this house, and it was a pile. So I'm like, okay, I gotta replumb it because the plumbing barely had water coming out of it. How old pipes, cast iron, all rusted. The kitchen was like 1950s garbage. And so I started doing all the work to it, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm taking stuff apart, and I'm like looking at the frame and the stuff, and I'm like, who built this? Like, I know you can't see it, but still.
Yeah.
And I started fixing stuff and doing stuff and sheetrocking it and flooring and cabinets, and I'm like,
it's a lot of work.
Man, I could do this. I'm gonna look what it takes to get my general's contractor's license because I've already tried calling some and they don't answer. If they do answer, they say they're going to show up and don't. And I'm like, this is dumb. They're either too busy or...
That's a shared experience.
Right? This is easy. I said, I'm going to kill it because I'm going to A, answer the phone, B, show up and make an estimate. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to do this. And right around that time, the place that I actually started working at as a very first apprentice, a guy calls me up out of the blue, and he's like, hey, man, you ready to come home? He said, I'm old. I want to retire. And I'm like, well, let me go see.
Yeah.
So I went and checked it out. It was a little dump. He was a little one-man shop, 60-something years old, and he was doing a couple cars a week. But I was like, you know what? I think I was like 40. I was 39 years old. I was like, I gotta do this. This is what my skill set is. I'm either going to do this shit or get off the pot, basically. So I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't work, I'm out. I'm going to go get into construction. So I went in and basically bought all the equipment and opened up September 1st, 2009. And he had no website. So I was already getting a website built, like a cool one, because auto repair shops didn't have cool websites either. They were stupid. And I'm like, this is first thing. I need to have a cool website. So I was getting it built, and by the time I opened up, went live, and I started getting phone calls, and it was a trip. It was a trip. I'm like, this is awesome. Day one, I had 4 cars to work on.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I ended up having to buy a headset because the phone was ringing. Every time I walked out to go work on the car, it was ringing again. So I got my headset on, and I got a clipboard attached to me, and I'm doing my thing. Yeah, I can take you in on tomorrow. I think my brain was trying to keep my calendar in the head. So it was just crazy. But I was doing what I loved, right?
Yeah. Doing
what I loved. So 1 year went by of me doing that.
Wow.
And I made sure there was something I told myself. I own this business, not the other way around. I paid myself from day one, W-2, no matter what, because if I didn't, I always had enough to make my paycheck, just maybe not the marketing, piece that just went out. They're waiting. I'm not. So I made sure I paid myself, and I punched out at 5:30 ish, and went home every day till it was like, oh, I can't, and then I hired my first technician. So after that, I hired my first technician is when I really started going, there's a whole other thing that I need to be aware of, like the bookkeeping and the payrolls and this and that and the others. And I'm like, wow, this is insane.
Takes a totally different shape.
It's a totally different animal. So in our world, we have some automotive coaching. There's some consultants out there, companies, multiple now, lots now. If you're trying to get into the automotive sector to help people out, you do have some competition. There's companies that are out there. I started with one called ATI, Automotive Training Institute, and they were very helpful. They basically really helped you change your mind to business numbers,
Yeah.
margins, gross profit dollars, what net really means, what ratios do you need to see to create these numbers? And I was like, man, this is cool. It's like a whole different kind of mathematics, science, stuff.
Yeah.
And I was geeked out about it. So I was with that company for 10 years, I think. 10 years. And then I went to another coaching company called Transformers Masterminds with Transformers Institute. And these guys are a group of multi-shop owners. So you couldn't be in the group with just one shop.
Yeah.
And they reached out to me because they were just opening this up, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but I only have one shop. They said, but you're looking at another one to expand, right? And I'm like, well, I kind of am.
Yeah, I guess I am now.
So they said, well, let's get you in, and we'll see what happens. And we got in there, and they're a great group also. I mean, very talented business owners in there. And not all of them were mechanics. So some of these guys were pro athletes, MBAs, and it's a different world sitting at the table with that level of people. You learn a lot. That's anybody out there who's in business for themselves and is getting by, and maybe you see the bank account, it's okay, it's going good, but you don't quite know why, or you have that feeling of, oh, it's all going to come crumbling down. There's a different world of business knowledge that is highly beneficial that you learn, because then it will make sense, and it kind of alleviates some of the fear that everything will come crashing down, because you'll know what all that stuff means and how to get there. But yeah, long story wrapped up into, I went from mechanic, climb, consulting, training, absorbing, learning, and now I lead a team of 30, some great leaders within them, and my success is because they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I've always wondered, a lot of times you see, and this area is similar to this, like a lot of auto body shops, a lot of mechanic shops, all kind of take up residence in a similar area. I'm guessing it's a zoning, partially for zoning,
yes.
but like you're all together. So you're surrounded by, at least in some part, your competitors. Mm-hmm. How do you set yourself apart when they're literally right next door?
Just like human nature, we're all different. We all have an expectation of something. Like for me, what my differentiator was, I wanted to have a phenomenal client experience, because when I first went from mechanic to service advisor, I wanted to do that because I would see the looks on people's faces when they're talking to these sales advisors at the dealership, and they're just the fear in them because they have no idea what this person's saying other than the big price tags that go along with it.
Yeah.
The price tags are the price tags.
You can't control that.
You can't,
At that
especially
level, at very
today.
least.
The skilled labor it takes to do these jobs is not cheap. If it is cheap, they're not good. So, we got parts that you got to buy and skilled labor in our industry. So you have to help your client understand that. And at the end of the day, the experience is what I was after. So I drove parts for a few years of my career for a dealership, and I would go to all the body shops. I would drive to all the mechanical shops, and this was in the 80s. They were just dingy, like dark. Like how do you work in that? Is the way I always felt. I wasn't a mechanic yet, professionally, but I think I've always been. I was that kid, take apart stuff, put it together. But it was dingy, I had that smell, and I'm like, it's weird that these don't look professional, and I always had this vision of owning a shop. It was so bright, painted, stainless steel, everything. I imagine, white lab coats, but didn't really come to fruition, probably for the best. But I've always had in my mind since the 80s, like I want a clean environment that cars won't get dirty. People will be like, wow, this is great. This is like a something. And then it transferred, like I tell all of our new hires, our shops were built from the technician out, because that's what I am inside. So I want it geared around the technician to be productive, ability to room. I know some shops that are this size that have twice as many of these lifts in there because they just want the volume.
You're just trying to cram it in.
I don't want that. I want the space, the freedom to have professionals to also cement that experience. Like you can see what's happening. A window on my door, so you can see what's happening. So that is the differentiator. The next step is, man, you meet them. You got to meet people. I'm friends with pretty much almost every shop owner because we're all in the same industry. In this area, I cannot work on all these cars. I can't. I mean, I have our clientele that appreciates what we do, how we do it, but not everybody does, which is okay. Totally fine.
Yeah.
There's another shop that I know that you're going to come in there, they're going to say, what do you need? That? No problem. I got it. Come back later. It's cheap, or whatever. Even if it's not cheap.
Take
it's
care of
just
them, yeah.
Whatever it is. Cool. Do that. I don't want to know anything else that's going on in the car, right?
Yeah.
Fine. The differentiator for me has always been, I want a knock your socks off client experience. So,
how do you drive that? I mean, now you're one person. You've got your leadership team that's sort of spread across these 3 different outfits, and they're not all like down the street. They're spread all over the place.
I did it hard.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
make it hard.
So how do you drive that? How do you drive? I mean, like it sounds like a core value of yours, this like ultimate customer experience.
Yeah.
How do you drive that through to the other locations?
I onboard everybody. Every new employee, I onboard them, and we do have our core values. So we have a list. You can see a big poster board over there on the wall. It's our company fundamentals. We kind of call it the Tools Garage way, and it's how we operate. It's what we expect when we onboard them. They're reading all of that stuff. We're cementing it in. Each week I write an email to the entire team, state of the biz. I always include the next fundamental each week. And then after the 20, repeats. So actually this week's was the fundamental number 1 again. So it's just repeating until it's, annoying at some stage, right?
Yeah.
It's annoying, right? But that's the reality. I mean, that's what it takes. I mean, that's us repeating what it is. That way it really cements in there. And I onboard, it starts at onboarding, and then all the other team members that are here doing that, listening to that, saying that, repeating it, it pretty much rolls into the new hires and so on and so forth. So it's important. We call that shop culture.
Yeah.
So it's funny, introvert also. So I spoke in front of, I don't know how big it was, a couple hundred auto shop owners at an event in Chicago for this industry magazine called Ratchet and Wrench. And I did this presentation on shop culture. So by having to go up and do something like that, which is absolutely insane, I had to create slides and put stuff together, and it really helped cement why shop culture was important to me. Because back when I was a dealership technician, I was the youngest guy in the shop. I didn't have the best attitude. I was more like, just, everything and, stuff like that. And my personality and attitude was infectious. The whole shop ended up being a little like that. It was more fun for me. It was like this fun, annoying shop. Now we're all a little on edge and crap talking, and I realized as I was there, because I was there for 8 years, I created that environment, and then I became the foreman, and I'm like, this is not really the most professional environment I could have created. Because I didn't know I was changing the whole feel of the shop. I didn't own it. I was just a technician.
Yeah.
So as a foreman, I shifted my focus to be a little bit more professional. I was getting guys trained, doing those little videos. It was helping them actually earn pay increases. I researched and found special tools that made our job safer, easier, quicker. And I really focused on the cleanliness of my stall, which I usually did anyway, but I really overemphasized it, and it slowly started to kind of creep out because I would clean up other areas too. And then before I left there, the shop was really clean. It was more respectful for the most part. And when I was writing this presentation, I'm like, this is really weird. Like, shop culture is this gentle, creative, crazy thing that, if not managed properly, can go awry.
Yeah, it can be influenced by one person.
And it doesn't even have to be the owner of the company, right? Because obviously I wasn't the owner of the dealership.
Yeah.
We'd be in a much different surrounding. So yeah, it really stuck with me because our shops were all, shop at the time we were just dialed in, running like a little machine. Everybody's having a good time and productive, professional, good experience. And it really drove home, this is what I need to do. This as the leader of this company with now 3 shops, I need to drive culture. And the rest happens because we have systems and processes put in place that let them know how to do what they do. I just make sure that I'm the influencer of the way we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you got everything kind of dialed in, it sounds like. What's next? You got these 3 shops. What's the next big thing for you?
We have more shops to add. We are built leadership wise to probably support 2 more.
Okay.
But they require a lot of financial upfront. So we're operating our currents just to make sure that we are running operationally sound without a lot of leadership help before we make the change to another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. That's in the future. So
Right on.
yeah, don't let Audra hear that.
She might not have gotten this far. We'll see.
I'm hoping not. That's why I talked about it late.
Yeah.
So that's us in a nutshell. So, we have some mutual acquaintances.
We do.
You were referred to me from our friend Jonathan Nicholas.
Yep.
Everybody knows Jonathan. How'd you meet Jonathan?
I was at a Chamber of Commerce social, and it was my first networking event, really, as in this position, and I was standing awkwardly by the door, talking to the gals, handing out the name tags.
Yeah.
I was just getting
Trying to look important.
a taste for it. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody,
Yeah,
right?
I
I don't
know.
even know these ladies, right?
Yeah.
So I'm standing there. I've got my little handwritten badge on. And,
Yeah.
And they were like, here, you should talk to Jonathan. And they flagged him down and brought him over. And, to his credit, introvert, he sat and he talked to me for like 45 minutes at this social at a bar where everyone's all talking to each other. I don't know if anybody else moved, but like he sat with me, he was giving me advice, he was just connecting with me, and it was, Jonathan, if you're out there,
He is.
thank you. It was very meaningful and impactful to me. And if you need a financial planner, talk to Jonathan Nicholas. You can reach out to Dave; he'll connect you if it's not in the bottom there. But yeah, it was just really a very heartfelt, nice connection, and he's been wonderful since then. We've gone to lunch a few times, or like once, and we're going to do it again. We've been to a few other meetings. He introduced me to a business networking group that I think you helped him start way
Yes.
back in the day.
Bang. It's called Bang. We call it many different things. Badass Network Group. But it's created by, I'm not going to take credit. Jonathan, it was Jonathan, myself, Diamond Dick, and Scott Nissenbaum. I think there was 4 of us. 3 were regularly making it. And we were all in BNI or some other form of networking things that dissolved, and we said, Jonathan's like, we're going to start our own. Shane Hale, there's another one, Shane Hale. So, it's crazy. And we called it Business Advantage Networking Group. So, Bang for short. It's the fact that it's still going is a testament to systems and processes.
Yeah, and it's going strong.
And you're in it now, or trying to become.
I'm an applicant. Yes, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but hopefully we'll see.
Right. Right. This organization was a little unique. We decided that in order to get into Bang, you had to one-on-one with everybody, and you had to have 100% thumbs up to get in the club. We weren't. It's free, so it wasn't just, here, write us a check, and you're in this group. It was like, look, we're actively referring business to each other, and we want to make sure we like you.
Yeah.
Right?
You're meeting every week for an hour and a half.
Yes, and referring your people. So so it's definitely, it's cool to see that it's still going. I'd lived too far away, I would go. But yeah, that's awesome. So Bang, we're somehow also connected via Bang.
That's
Jonathan
right.
Nicholas, Bang, and somebody else, Matt Cafaro.
Oh, that's right. That's where I get my cars serviced.
Yep.
Matt's a great guy. He's taking
Matt's
care of us,
awesome.
both my car and my wife's car.
Yep.
And also somebody who just sat and chatted with me for quite a while my car was in the shop. He just happened to be sitting in the little lobby area when I was sitting there, and
That's
talked
all
him
Matt
up.
does anyway. But no.
All right. Well, hopefully he hasn't watched this far. But
No, that's Matt's a good guy.
Yeah.
Matt's a good guy. Again, industry competitor, but the reality is, man, we all do things differently, and it's okay to be friends.
yeah.
It's
Well, and
okay
it
to be
feels
friends.
kind of like, in talking to him and now to you, it feels like it can be and probably is a relatively tight knit community.
Yes, yes. The automotive industry is so massive, yet so small, and this is weird, right? And this you would probably hit home with. So I was doing a lot of videos. I mentioned I started doing these videos 12 years ago now, somewhere in that range. And then we started doing, the podcasts or the little funny videos and a lot of the ones on LinkedIn. And then I started going to these industry events and people are like, "Oh, hey, you're Dave the car guy." And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I
watched
guess
that?
I am. Yeah.
You watch that? Yeah, it's awesome. And it's like, it's weird. It's like, not everybody, I'm sure, but it's like, some people that are not near
Yeah.
the area somehow recognized you.
Well, they're in the billions that you mentioned
You're the
at the beginning.
Now,
Yeah.
yes. But yeah, it's a big industry, but kind of small, all in the same. So it's kind of crazy. So you're working your way into Bang.
Yep.
You met Jonathan Nicholas, who, quite frankly, is probably the most influential guy in the Bay Area.
He's
at least
well connected.
in San Carlos, anyway.
He's well connected.
So how do you plan on kind of moving forward and promoting yourself? As it's you're into the one-on-one connection. What's your plans? How are you going to try and grow?
Yeah, at the moment, just trying to stay connected to the people I do know. I'm going to Chamber of Commerce events, and I'm trying to pay attention to the various committees that they've got going out of Redwood City. Although I think the chamber that I'm in covers Redwood City, San Mateo, San Carlos, Belmont,
Wow.
Menlo Park, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big one. They
You used to be all individual.
Yeah, they grouped together
Yeah.
recently, like within the last couple of years, I think. So I'm going to that.
Probably for the better.
I'm looking into joining the Rotary Club. I'm trying to help out a little bit more, really just connecting to my local community. Like growing up, I felt like I was like through my parents and what they did. Like my mom was a teacher, my dad was a doctor.
Yeah.
And like everywhere we went, there was somebody who knew us from something, and it just felt nice. And as an adult now, I don't have that, and I've missed it. So my plan is to kind of like use some of these organizations to reconnect to my local community. I'm in Redwood City, so that's kind of where I'm starting. And branching out from there and just taking one-on-ones with anybody who will sit still long enough to talk to me. And that's it for now.
Yeah. Meeting the community through those groups is very important. When you say what separates you and in your business and stuff, and I truly believe like we do a lot of community things. We always have in each community that we belong to. We really are active in the community, not for publicity's sake, but to affect change in our community. And I think as an entrepreneur, like I say this to people a lot. Like I grew up, I did not have money. I learned young that if I do a really good job, I make it, which is cool, but I didn't have it. So there was a lot of things that were awkward for me growing up. Like people, oh, we're gonna donate, we're gonna do this, and I'm just like, I can't.
Not today.
I can't donate it. Nothing. To
Yeah.
you, right. I can help. Maybe I can help you do this. Whatever.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, and you're being part of the community and those groups, you can actually see, man, this organization really could use a hand physically. And you know what? If I just buy that thing, that's going to make their year done, right? That's the kind of stuff that you get to do as an entrepreneur. as long as you're profitable, running your business
You
well.
manage your money well.
Yeah, but it's very impactful. So that is another separator. We do the stuff for the community because we love it, and it does make a difference. Not hard to quantify it, can't track it,
Yeah.
but it's something.
But one of the really nice parts is, like, you help people. That's what you do.
Yes.
Right? That's why I'm doing what I do, right? As I really enjoy being able to connect with people.
Yeah.
Helping them accomplish that dream, like reclaim the thing that they're super passionate about.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to get excited when you're talking to people about the thing that they're really passionate about, So it's those connections, because it's local, you really get that one-on-one connection. You get to see that.
Yep. Entrepreneurship, the way to crack open an introvert.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity. All right, Abe. So we're going to wrap it up for today.
Okay.
How do people find you?
Well, I can give you the address to my website, and you can put it below in the video there.
Absolutely.
But it's aberudo.com. That's the easiest way to do it. I am abe@aberudo.com for my email. Relatively simple. And that's pretty much it. Or you can come down to the Chamber of Commerce socials. You'll see me lurking by the door.
Yes, waiting for somebody to come in and chat with you.
That's right. Feel free to talk to me. I'll introduce you to Jonathan. And then you too will know everybody.
Absolutely. All right, Abe. Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I wish you great success. And any entrepreneurs out there who don't have a group to join that can help you get some knowledge on how to run a business as opposed to how to be the best at what you do, always good to have a resource. So it sounds like Abe is our local guy. All right, Abe.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. This has been fun.
I'm glad. I know you asked me a lot of questions like, what do I do? How do I get it?
Yeah,
What
really.
I got it? I said, don't worry. Just don't vomit. You'll be fine. We're going to be good to go.
So far, so good.
Just make it. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
All right, Abe. Well, it's been a pleasure, and hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. You too.
And I'm Dave the Car Guy, signing out. Thanks for listening to Shop Talk Live. For more episodes, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram @Tools Garage. Remember, drive safe and stay tuned for more. Until next time, I'm Dave the Car Guy, signing out.